All right. You indicated here that you wanted some feedback, a feedback video if possible, and it is possible, but I have to say, I am sort of in a hurry. It's a Tuesday. This was all due on Sunday. So I'd like to get everything done by Monday, but I had a lot of people, including yourself, who turned everything in very late. So I had a lot, I tried to keep up with the grading, but it was out of my control this time. Anyway, so I'm going to go through this quickly. So please forgive me for that. Let's take a look here. And on that note, normally I like to read all these things very carefully, so maybe I can see what your thought process is, and maybe we could have a learning moment. But in this case, I'm just skimming through them because I don't have time to read them very carefully. Air Compare, the US EPA is a tool that helps you find out where and when air quality is better. Real-time air quality maps like my Airly. And this is a good example too. So had I had more time, I would check this Air Compare and see if that provides an AQI, because you can see here it says your answer should not have anything to do with AQI. But I don't have time for that, so I'll assume this Air Compare that you listed has nothing to do with AQI, specifically with AQI, the AQI index. Anyway, let's go down here. All right. Lost a point here because you need to put the date. That's really important for a couple of reasons. Practically, the one thing to keep in mind about AQIs is that it changes, right? Air quality changes like weather, right? It might be hot one day, cold the next day, raining one day, dry the next. Same with this, right? So it might be high numbers one day for the AQI, low numbers the next day. So that's why the date is really important. On a practical note for grading, without knowing your date, I now cannot compare your data to what the data should be. But anyway, that being said, let's move forward. What I want to do is look. I'm just taking a quick overview here to see, compare your location to other locations, and it is kind of one of the worst ones. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, over here on the side, write down each location was worse than yours, so I can refer back to it. You'll see what I mean here in a second. So you had a 35. I'm looking for places that were worse. So NYC was worse. Bangladesh was way worse, and I assume that you put Bangladesh in there because you read this here. Probably Puerto Rico wasn't working, so you put that in. Very good. DC was worse. Anchorage was much better. Dallas, what did I say you were? 35, I think. Yeah, 35. So Dallas was worse, so was Denver. So Dallas, Denver. All right. With all that said, now we can look at these questions to see if you're correct or not. Air quality is better in Myrtle Beach. Correct. Air quality in New York City is only about 10 times. Well, it's not 10 times worse. I'm not going to lose points for that. But look, if it was 10 times worse, then that means Institute would have a 35 and New York City would have a 350, right? So if it's 3 times worse, then you multiply it by 10. But I know what you meant. Anyway, Miami's air quality is better than Institute. Correct. Seattle's was better than Institute. Good. Yellowstone was better than Institute. Good. San Juan did not show up. Good. Okay, good. DC had worse air quality. Good. So we've addressed that. And we've addressed Bangladesh. Anchorage had better. That's good. Hold on. And I'm now realizing I must have skipped over New York City. Here we go. Sorry about that. Air quality in New York City, 10 times worse. And again, 10 times. Oh, yeah, that's what I was talking about earlier. Again, 10 times worse would be multiplying it by 10, not adding by 10. But anyway, let's keep moving here. Dallas, more poor air quality. Good. Denver, Institute has better air quality. Good. So that's correct. All right. So that's all correct. Anchorage, air quality out of the list. I had to miss one there. And here too, because as it says right here, what was it? All right. So you also need to include what it was. However, and this is a mistake most people make. So, and they always lose the points just like you are right now. So that's minus 2 more points. But let's look at the fact that you did actually include the AQI in the other questions when you weren't asked. So for that, let's do a little extra credit here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's call that 7 points of extra credit plus 7. So -3 plus 7. Because again, you missed points because you didn't include the AQI. But if I think it's only fair if I'm going to subtract points for not including the AQI when asked, that I should give you some extra credit when giving the AQI when not asked. Anyway, let's look at this. Chart title is never an appropriate title. You always want to have the title should always describe the data, right? And chart title does not describe the data. Even if it says something like Air Quality Lab, right? That also would be incorrect. That's just describing the lab. It needs to describe the data. That being said, let's look at some of this. Your y-axes are all, oops, sorry, that's -4 now because of the title. But look here, your x-axes are also messed up. So that's another point missing. I know I put 2 x's, but it's only because you have 2 different digits on your y-axis. So anyway, that's -5. The problem here is that the AQI, look, I mean, this is what I call lookology. This is what you should do. You don't need to be an expert. Just look at it, look at the big picture, and look at the numbers we're dealing with here, right? So we're dealing with numbers other than Bangladesh, dealing with numbers in the 20s and 30s and 40s, occasional single digit. Bangladesh was in triple digits. But then if you look at the chart, we have percentages, which there are no percentages that we're dealing with. And then we have these numbers, right? None of these are the numbers that we're looking for. So that's why he lost a point for the y-axis. So that's what 1, 2, and then also this line shouldn't be there either because this is not continuous data, right? The bars are good because it is discrete data, right? This is the data from Bangladesh. This is the data from Anchorage. This is the data from Seattle. So that you lost a point there, and you should also lose a point for this too because look, I mean, again, big picture. Yes, this part makes sense. We know Bangladesh had really bad. Now, granted, there's no numbers here, but I'm just looking at the size of the bars here. Yeah, Bangladesh had really bad air, so I would expect a higher bar. But then New York City also had really bad air, yet it has one of the smaller bars. Same with DC, right? It had, or what are some other examples? Anchorage had some of the best, right? Yet its bar is bigger than New York City, right? So that would be another point lost, but you've already lost 3 points for the graph, and the graph itself is only worth 1, 2, 3, 4 points. So I don't want to take all the points away. I want to reward you, so to speak, for at least making a graph. So yeah, that's where we're standing right now, -6 plus 7. You turned it in, 19 hours and 30 minutes late. So on time, right? So you missed question 33 because it wasn't on time, but that's only 1 point. So there we go, -7. So that's it. Now, this is good. You'll be able to see how extra credit works with labs. So let me pull up the calculator so you can see. So this lab is worth 33 points, as you can see here, right? Right here at the bottom screen, 33 points. But I'm giving you 7 points of extra credit, right? So plus 7. So that means in your version, the lab is actually worth 40 points, right? So 40, but then you missed 7. So 40 minus 7. That means you got 33 right out of 7. 33 right out of 40, excuse me. So divide that by 40, and this gives us your percentage, which is about 83%, right? I'm going to multiply that by the total points possible for the lab, which is 25, and your grade is 20.63, right? We're going to round that up, 20.63. Now, just as a quick demonstration, just so you understand a little bit more how extra credit works. Had I not given you those plus 7 points, right? So then we would have had this. Calculate 33 is how many it's worth. You missed 7. So 26, divide that by 33. Your percentages would have been about 78, 79%. So multiply that by 25. And your grade would have been 19.69. So, you can see it wasn't a big game changer, but every little bit helps. So that's it. That's your feedback. Like I said, I was in a rush. So if you want more feedback, want more detailed feedback, just let me know. And as always, you can resubmit with corrections to get some of those points back. And also, finally, and I'm going to put this in writing, but I'm going to ahead and tell you too. If you will allow me to share this with future students so they can learn from your mistakes and learn from your successes, then I will give you an additional 1 point of extra credit. So just let me know.